Hi, I'm Mira from Fruit Village.
Hi, I'm Eduardo Corassa, a clinical nutritionist from Brazil. I have been practicing and living a natural hygiene lifestyle and a frugivore diet for the last 20 years.
If you would like to eat this coconut, subscribe.
I'm the main spreader of the raw vegan message here in Brazil. So my main message is health through healthful living, lifestyle, sunshine, sleep, exercise, diet, a raw food diet.
Health through healthful living. I love that.
So you have trees on your home, you have food security, you have money being printed by your trees. If you want to help the world, not just yourself, but also your loved ones, help everything, plant fruit trees.
In a nutshell, what will we get in this interview?
My main tip for long-term success in a raw food diet. What is the number one reason that all fruit-based eaters should grow their own food? How does growing your own fruit supports you and leverage your fruit-based diet? What advice I would give to fruit-based eaters that would like to start to plant their own garden?
Thank you for joining us. What is your best tip for long-term success on a fruit-based diet?
For sure, it's education. There is some science behind it. There is some practical application. There is some lines of thoughts. There's a lot of details to learning anything we want in life. I can see a professional tango dancer and I can think like, damn, I want to dance like that. If I don't practice for years and years straight and I don't study it for years and years straight, I'm not going to dance like him. So you need education and dedication and practical appliance. You have to practice as well. So that would be my main tips. What I did in my back in the days, there was no Instagram, no TikTok, no social media whatsoever. I ended up studying Douglas Graham's book, The 80-10-10 Diet, and then I read Dr. Herbert Shelton's books, and then I read the medical vegan doctors like Barnard, Esselstyn, McDougall, and then I started reading the science through scientific papers, and I went to university. If you don't want to do a huge haul, that's why I wrote the books I wrote, to summarize the knowledge in just a few steps. So let's go around with me a little bit and get to know a little bit of my garden. I plant here white sapotes, black sapotes, mamey, coconuts, bananas, sempedax, durian, gummy worm fruit, that is cecropia. I plant figs. I try to plant everything, but sometimes not everything manages to grow, right?
Great selection. So what is the main reason that all fruit-based eaters should grow their own fruit?
There's so many reasons why I can that I can think of after studying the science. You understand that first of all, food is also nature itself. Health is also nature itself. For sure. First, it's organic food. When you have organic, you don't have the pesticides, all the petrochemicals they throw on our food that damage the microbiome of the soil, the microbiome of the food, neurotoxins, carcinogenics, diabetogenics, obesogenic substances. So for sure, you don't have pesticides on your food. You can plant the fruits that are not available on the market. And nowadays, with all these political issues, climate issues, we don't have food security. So you have trees on your home, you have food security, you have money being printed by your trees, so I think there's several different reasons for planting your own food. Besides, being able to grow durian and like rare fruits, really tasty fruits, the nutrient profile is better, it's cheap, it's healthy because gardening is actually correlated with higher longevity. So there's a lot of benefits, and it's because it's part of us. Nature, it's actually part of us. Being in contact with the trees, with the soil, it's what we did for millions of years, so it's what we should be doing. That's for sure. If you want to help the world, not just yourself, but also your loved ones, help everything, plant fruit trees. They will keep providing you food for decades to come.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Fruit trees are amazing. And what are the top 5 fruit trees to plant?
It's hard to choose, right? When you're a frugivore, each season is a different season and you love that fruit more than the others. It's hard to choose, that's for sure. Durians, because I love them. I would say figs, because I love green figs. I would say mangoes, because I have so many good varieties of mangoes in here. Sempedak, because it was, for sure is one of my favorites. Mame sapote and black sapote, that's for sure.
I love your choices. And how has growing your food changed your life?
When I got the idea of eating fruits and vegetables, when I felt the benefits, that changed my life even more. But for sure, now that I grow my food, the symbiosis to be close to the food and to, you know, it's a therapy. I think it's a therapy. And also, for example, here in Brazil, you cannot buy chocolate sapote. There's nowhere selling chocolate sapote. Or you grow or you don't eat it. So why am I letting out of my diet such a delicious fruits? You know, all these fruits, they're so delicious and people are eating junk food instead of eating the right kind of foods. So these are not available to anybody, not even to myself that I want to eat it. I could pay even higher prices for it, but it's not sold anywhere. So, you know, it changed my life because I can grow these foods in my yard. Just go down my just go down my house, and you know, there's fruit trees growing fruits everywhere. I live in a Garden of Eden. What else can I want it?
So, in your Garden of Eden, what is your favorite fruit?
Sometimes I think it's durian. Sometimes I think it's Portugal figs, green figs. We call pingo de mel, honey drops. You know, sometimes I think it's mamey. There are so many. I think the best fruits is the one that you eat with health and hunger, right? The healthier you are, the better you feel the fruits.
I like that. What is your personal motivation to plant fruit trees?
I was eating like plantain, really ripe plantain, and my brain was like, and I'm not a spiritual guy or I'm a science guy, but still, I felt like, you know, a gratitude for God or for fruit trees to be created like this. I was like, damn, you are giving me this perfect food. The feeling was the best feeling I ever had in life. Being close to these fruit trees and seeing that I'm providing shelter and food for animals, for myself, for my family. I'm helping the climate. I'm helping to preserve nature. And you know, when you get like a papaya or a sapote out of the tree, the feeling is so good. And when you eat it, you don't have to buy food. You have the best medicine in your trees, actually. This is nature's medicine. The real medicine is actually in the fruits.
True. How do you see your garden and your diet evolving in the next 5 to 10 years?
The diet, I don't see as much as can evolve besides eating all organic, right? Because I think I do a perfect, almost perfect diet whatsoever. A lot of fruits and vegetables, some nuts and seeds, you know, raw. But for sure, it can evolve eating all organic food from my garden and a lot of more variety. That's what I am in here, having more variety of fruit trees and having more variety of fruits. So I have different varieties of nutrients, right? In my garden, I hope this will be a Garden of Eden, to be an example for the world, for Brazilians, to see that you can grow your own food and have a normal job and be, you know, healthier and even save money on it. All of us can get into a better place, right?
Yes, hopefully. What advice would you give to those who would like to start to plant their own fruit trees?
There's so many because you have to learn a lot. Don't go planting the fruit trees before you learn the basics. So planting line so you have more space and more organization. So you don't like when you go to mow your lawn, you have a more grass cutter. You don't end up killing some of your saplings, right? So planting line, do big holes and invest in the holes, right? Throw cow's manure, composted soil, and other materials that can help the plant. And throw water in the first days of the plants. Make sure they have a lot of water in their first days when you plant them. And for sure, select the best varieties that you think of. Go for selections of fruits, like in terms of durian, you can have a lot of kinds of durians, but go for example for Muson King or Montong, right? So be mindful of the selected varieties, and also prune the trees. Don't let they grow like as much as they can, because for example my jackfruit tree now has probably 40 meters, right? How do I harvest a jackfruit in 40 meters high? So make sure you prune them. I try to maintain them around 3 meters. Some stuff you cannot prune, like coconuts for sure, but some stuff you can prune it, so I prefer pruning it.
I agree. How does growing food support your diet?
We are the anthropoid primates. We have a symbiosis with these fruit trees. We, for millions of years, have created this symbiosis that is actually in our DNA. So we feel a lot better when we are close to plants. Our health thrives when we eat these plants, these fruits and vegetables, these colorful fruits. I was a frugivore way before planting my own food, because I was living in a big city. I didn't have the money, so I had to do what I had to do. So for the last 8 years now, I have the possibility, after almost 10 years, living in a city and not growing any food whatsoever, I managed to get my own place and to plant my own fruit trees. So I can do it without it, because I realized that the fruit-based diet was really important for my health. But nowadays that I can grow my own food, that is, I can be with nature, I can be with plants, I feel so much better. When I go to big cities, I'm like, anxious and not feeling as good, mentally speaking. So it's one of the greatest pleasures in life that I have.
Beautiful. What is the most important lesson you learned in your garden?
Now I see the closeness from these plants to us, from vegetable nutrition to animal nutrition, to vegetable needs, to human needs, to animal needs. We are quite similar. But for sure, the plants pull their nutrients from the soil, we pull the nutrients from the food. We are in symbiosis with the planet itself, with animals, with plants. So to avoid the symbiosis, to go into big cities and to not be exposed to the ground, to the germs and to microbes and to animals, like people you cannot be healthy without being in contact with other kinds of life. Plant life, mushroom life, animal life. Life is much better with them. And to understand that plants have biological needs and we have biological needs. If you don't provide the biological needs for the plant can survive or die depending on the amount. So for the example, fig trees, they don't die over here, but if they're not well nourished, they don't produce fruits and they don't grow well. It's the same for us. If you overdose on drugs or junk food, you may even die in a few years. But you can live a long life if you take good care of your body.
What was the first fruit tree that you planted in your garden?
We planted some bananas, coconuts, and mangoes, but I also had mamey, peanut butter fruits. I had ice cream bean. It was 8 years ago, so I don't remember exactly which ones, but I didn't know how to grow food. So I didn't know about the soil. I didn't know about like a composted material. Composting. I didn't know about like organic fertilizers like cow manure. Like I didn't know anything. So the experiment still going because I learned a lot more. So I took some trees out of the ground. I put a lot of new ones. Now I have like 350 planted or something like that. So but for sure, if I could choose one to plant first, would be green figs from Portugal. That is probably a different variety that we have here. They're tastier, or durian. or Sempedak. I don't know. There are so many varieties of fruits that I love that would be hard to say that the one I planted first, because I would like to plant all of them. You know, I have like 3 times the land I have, but it's hard to manage as well while I'm a social media influencer producing content for YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok.
So how do you nurture your fruit trees and feed your soil?
First of all, it's cow manure and even human manure. You have to we have to go a long way to explain it, but I buy cow manure and I usually do my number 2 in a bucket, let it ferment, and then after many months of decomposing, I just throw on the soil when it's already or just organic matter, right? There's no more water in there. It's just like cow manure. When it gets dry after a few months of composting, then you have like the best fertilizer, right? Because my poop, my number 2, it's from fruits and vegetables. It's really healthy. It's actually healthy for the plants and for the soil as well. And I also use a lot of dead organic matter, like I cut banana leaves and throw on the ground. I have a shredder to shred like coconuts and big branches of trees. So I just throw on the processor, on the shredder. It comes out little small pieces like mulch. You guys probably call mulch, right? And I just cover the soil. I'm starting to do that, right? Because back then I didn't do it. You can see a lot of branches of mango trees and a lot of leaves on the ground, and throwing coconut husks and sugarcane pulps, you know, like all the organic matter I can use that I just throw on the soil.
What challenges did you face when you planted your fruit trees and how did you overcome them?
Nothing grew well besides mangoes, jackfruits, and bananas. The other trees didn't produce well, you know, even coconuts here wouldn't produce well because my dad, because he was worried about statics as well, he was from a farm, right? He grew up in a farm, so he knew a lot about planting. So, but he put like grass on a lot of places because he thought he was going to help, right? Spreading the grass over the yard. But the grass is like a parasite. They take all the nutrients, the water, and they establish there and don't allow the fruit tree to, you know, get proper nutrition and growth. So I had to take a lot of the grass out, but they still keep growing and growing. I didn't know how to cover the soil with organic material. I didn't know how to fertilize them. I have to learn a lot about permaculture and agroforestry to understand how to take care of my babies, of my fruit trees better.
Thank you, Eduardo. Please tell us more about your background.
I was a really sick child for almost 20 years of my life, and I try to find ways to heal myself through normal, regular allopathic medicine, and then I didn't find answers. So I ended up adopting a natural hygiene lifestyle medicine, and that means I changed from remedies and surgeries to lifestyle, sunshine, sleep, exercise, diet, a raw food diet, and a fasting, and a lot of other health practices. So I ended up studying nutrition in university, and I have published 10 books. I'm writing my 11th. I'm the main spreader of the raw vegan message here in Brazil, not just from recipes, but the scientific research that supports that we should be eating like anthropoid primates. We should be eating raw food and a lot of fruits and vegetables. I run retreats here in Brazil. I have online courses. Instead of going the academic route to publish research, I use others' research to support this idea and to spread to people around Brazil and now abroad that health should be produced by healthful living, not by drugs, not by surgeries. That health is easy to achieve. You just look at the plants. It's the same concept. If we want to thrive, we have to provide them all their biological needs. So it's the same for human beings. although we are not plants, we need these biological needs to survive and to thrive, or else we have a lower quality of life and a lower lifespan and a reduced lifespan. What we say in science, reduced health span and lifespan. I hope this inspires you guys to go for health and to find ways to be better nourished and to help the planet.